Donald Trump has tried to run from accountability. He has tried to hide from the truth, but it just isn't working. Every attempt to cover up a controversy or mistake seems to backfire, and the reality keeps catching up with him. Recently, concerns about his health have been growing, and instead of addressing them honestly, Trump responded with an angry post online after reports surfaced that he was struggling physically. We'll break down that reaction in just a moment, but first, let's point out another challenge he faces: staying politically popular. His approval is slipping, and instead of building support the right way, his team has resorted to tactics like gerrymandering, something Congressman Adam Schiff has been openly calling out.
Very quickly, final question. This week, Texas Republicans redrew their map. They added 5 additional Republican seats. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, says it's time to fight fire with fire. He is moving to add 5 additional Democratic seats. You, Senator, have been very outspoken against tearing down Democratic norms. Does this tit-for-tat over redistricting run the risk of undercutting Democrats' credibility in the eyes of voters?
Democrats offered the legislation in the last session to eliminate the gerrymander in every state. We supported, I think, to a person. Republicans, I think, almost to a person, maybe to a person, opposed that. It's very clear what party wants to do away with gerrymandering. But it was interesting to me when you asked J.D. Vance, hey, if your agenda is so popular, why are you trying to gerrymander Texas, a state that is already gerrymandered to elect Republicans? And he didn't try to defend the president's agenda. The president is deeply unpopular, one of the most unpopular presidents in history. His agenda is unpopular. The big ugly bill that is cutting health care for millions to fund tax cuts for rich people is historically unpopular. So of course, the only way they feel they can survive the midterms is by redrawing the lines in Texas. California is not going to stand for this. We will fight fire with fire. Don't poke the bear, and it's going to be necessary, but I hope what will come out of the end of all of this is where we should have begun, and that was with the Democratic bill to end the gerrymander in every state.
All right.
Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are dodging this question because they simply don't have an answer. They once claimed they had a sweeping mandate and the most exciting agenda in American history back in 2024. But where is that mandate now? The reality is, Trump is deeply unpopular on nearly every issue he says carried him to victory. Big money backers like Elon Musk played a far larger role than Trump wants to admit. And because this administration lacks real popularity, intimidation has become their strategy. The clearest example is happening right now in Washington, D.C., where Trump is deploying his supporters to create disruption, with plans to target other cities next, including Baltimore. That's why Maryland Governor Wes Moore called him out directly. And in response, Trump went on yet another angry online rant, this time tied to growing concerns about his health.
The president watches the program, and he likely saw the guest listing because he's tweeting about you, or truthing, I guess. He says the governor, Wes Moore of Maryland, has asked in a nasty and provocative tone that I walk the streets of Maryland with him. And he's talking about crime-ridden Baltimore. It's quite lengthy, but he goes after your record on crime. He says it's a bad one. He says if you need help, he will send in the troops, which is being done in nearby D.C. I mean, when we saw a few weeks ago the deployment on the streets of Los Angeles, the governor of California tried to go to the courts, and he was unable to stop it. Is the reality here is you can't stop the president from sending troops to Baltimore if he wants to.
The year before I became the governor, in 2022, Baltimore was averaging almost a homicide a day. And I came in and I said, I refuse to be a governor who just offers thoughts and prayers to this situation. So we said we're actually going to work in partnership with Mayor Scott, work in partnership with local elected officials, work in partnership with local law enforcement. We made the largest investments in local law enforcement in our state's history, over $50 million going to Baltimore City alone.
That came from federal money.
That came from both federal and state money. And also, Maryland became one of the only states that actually helps to fund the U.S. attorney out of balance sheet, taking many of those gun crimes and actually turning them into federal charges. And the results have been incredibly encouraging, where Maryland has had amongst the fastest drops in violent crime of anywhere in the United States in the past 2.5 years. The homicide rate in Maryland is down over 20% since I have been the governor. And the last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I was not born yet. And so the reason that I've asked the president to come and join us is because he seems to enjoy living in this blissful ignorance, these tropes and these 1980 scare tactics. And, you know, just last week I was in Baltimore. And I was with a group called We Are Us, who's a violence intervention group. And they say, we're all we got. We're all we need. And that's exactly how people in this community feel. Because while the president is spending his time from the Oval Office making jabs and attacks at us, there are people actually on the ground doing the work who know what supports would actually work to continue to bring down crime, but it's falling on deaf ears of the president of the United States.
You're not presidential timber at all. I imagine you disagree with that assessment?
No, I've been very clear. I'm not running for president, but it's interesting but it's interesting. The president seems to be more concerned about my future than he is about the future of the American people. And that's where I'm asking him to keep his focus on the things that actually matter right now, which is the fact that his economic policies are driving up prices on everything from electronics to the clothes that we wear to the food that we eat. Talk about the fact that he has immigration policies that are knocking out tens of thousands of jobs in the state of Maryland. Talk about the fact that you are about to kick veterans and seniors off of health care. Don't worry about my future. Worry about theirs.
I want to ask.
We need more Democratic governors standing up and calling out Trump. And I am also excited that Governor Moore, after we have been talking about it on this show almost every single day, and I don't think it's because of that, but maybe says that he is looking into some redistricting to eliminate the only GOP seat in Maryland. But clearly, that is not the only thing that upset Donald Trump, because Wesmore also called out his health, and it led to a rage posting Meltdown. Trump 79 melts down at being challenged to a walk by DM46. The president fumed that Maryland Governor Wes Moore's invitation to perform light cardio was nasty and provocative. Donald Trump huffed and puffed online after Maryland Governor Wes Moore challenged him to walk the streets of his state. The 79-year-old president lashed out on Truth Social on Sunday at Moore's nasty and provocative invitation 3 days earlier to join him for some light cardio in Baltimore, calling the city a crime disaster and threatening to deploy National Guard troops. As president, I much prefer that he clean up his crime disaster before I go there for a walk, Trump fumed. Wesmore's record on crime is a very bad one, unless he fudges his figures on crime like many other blue states are doing. But if Wesmore needs help like Gavin Newsom did in LA, I will send in the troops, which is being done in nearby DC, and quickly clean up the crime, the president continued. Trump was so angry about the public safety walk invitation that he suggested he may pull federal support for rebuilding the city's Francis Scott Key Bridge, which collapsed last year. In a follow-up post, Trump accused Moore of lying about receiving the Bronze Star, although he was honored with one in 2024. The 46-year-old responded with a pointed jab at the president's health. President Bone Spurs will do anything to get out of walking, even if that means spouting off more lies about the progress we're making on public safety in Maryland. Moore wrote of the older man. He added, "Hey, Donald, we can get you a golf cart if that makes things easier. Just let my team know." The golf cart offer seemed targeted. Back in 2017, during a G7 summit in Italy, the Times reported that while the other world leaders took a short walk together to reach the location of a photo, Trump opted to wait for a golf cart and follow behind them. The White House and Moore didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Thanks for watching this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.